the second week of the pantry challenge, and it's actually going pretty good. Our grocery bill for this week was like $40, and we had to get some milk and some creamer, and I think we got a couple Gatorades or something. We didn't get a whole lot, but it was about $40. That was our grocery bill for the week. But what I thought I would do today is show you how to make mozzarella, homemade fresh mozzarella, in 30 minutes. And you make it out of store-bought milk, and it makes a lot. So I thought I'd show you how to do that, but first I wanted to go over the supplies you need to do this. So you can always, after you get the supplies, you can always come back to this video and we can do it together. So what you're going to need is a small stock pot. I'm not sure. It'll hold a gallon of milk. So if you compare it to the size of a gallon of milk, it'll hold a gallon of milk. So you need one of those, a stainless steel spoon. You're going to need a knife that is long enough to go to the bottom, or some kind of cutting apparatus. You'll need citric acid, cheese salt, and rennet. I use liquid rennet. You can get the rennet tablets. I use liquid rennet. Where I get mine from is called Southwest Grape and Grain. I believe they have a website, and I know they will ship it to you. You can always just look up their name and give them your address if they don't have a website. That's what I do. I just call them and order, and they ship it to me. So like I said, cheese salt. And then you will need 2 measuring cups, one of them with 1/4 cup of cool water, one of them with 1/2 cup of cool water, measuring spoons, and dishwashing gloves. I know that sounds weird, but these, I store them in here so they do not get used for anything but the cheese making. And you'll see why we need these, unless you've got some really tough hands. I can handle heat on mine, but whew, these are a lifesaver. So make sure you get a pair, wash it really good with soap and water, and rinse it really, really well. Let them dry before you use them the first time. And then, like I said, I just store mine in here. And then you're going to need a thermometer. This is a dairy thermometer, but a digital thermometer will work as long as you can clip it to the side and it goes at least like this one. The bottom of it is about right there. So you want to make sure that it has a long enough stem to do what you need to do with it. Other than that, you will need a glass bowl, which I will find my other bowl here in just a minute, but you're going to need a glass bowl, but that's not until the end. The cookbook that I use to get this recipe, and I've made a lot of recipes out of this book. There's a farmhouse cheddar in here that's amazing as well, but it's called Home Cheese Making by Ricky Carroll, and I will put a link to it in the description on where to get it. But I've had this book, I don't know, probably, I want to say 4 years, and I've made so many cheeses out of it. I absolutely love this book. So I will, like I said, I'll put a link to it in the description box. So this is what you're going to need to get started. So let me just kind of get things together, and then we will start the process. If you're making this along with me, get your supplies together, and we'll be back in a minute. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our thermometer and put it in. So you want your milk to start out at 55 degrees. Okay, watch that in a minute. Alright, so right now this is sitting at, I need my glasses. Here they are. Line goes about right at 55 degrees. So basically milk out of the fridge should be close to 55 degrees. So then you're going to take your half cup, I believe. Yep, your half cup of cool water and your citric acid, and it's going to be 1.5 level teaspoons. So I'll just use the half a teaspoon and add 3. And you want it level, so there's 1, 2, 3. Give it a stir. And you can find this in the canning section where you buy your jars and stuff. So we're done with that, so we'll set that aside. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I go through the instructions thoroughly, because a lot of times when you make stuff enough, it just becomes habit, and if you're trying to show somebody, well, obviously you don't want to not explain a proper step. So you're just going to dissolve this in here. And this is when you're going to add this. So this hasn't been heated yet. So you're going to pour your citric acid and water in there and just give it a stir. And this pot only gets used for cheese. I do not use it to make soups or stews or nothing like this. I actually have another one just like it that we use for soups and stuff. But this one, anything to do with cheese making, just because you want to keep it, you know, like sanitary, I keep separate so that it doesn't get mixed with anything or ruined, and then you don't have it to make your cheese with. Okay, so now I'm going to take this over to the stove and I'll move y'all over there. So now when you have your 1/4 cup of water, you're going to add a half a teaspoon of the rennet. Just kind of give that a quick stir. We're going to let that sit for a second. Now this, I've got the flame really low, and you want to heat it slowly to 90 degrees. You're not going to stir like a crazy person. You just kind of do the up and down motion. Let's see if I can do it with this hand. You know, just kind of do the up and down motion and just stir it. But make sure you keep a close eye on your thermometer, because you're only going to go to 90 degrees. You don't want to heat it too fast, because if it gets above temperature, you can't really control it at that point. So I'm just gonna, it doesn't take long, like we're already at 70. So I'm just gonna kind of slowly stir this in. You know, I want to make sure that the milk is heating evenly. And I've got my stove on a low flame, and I actually could probably turn it up just a tad. Like I said, you don't want to heat it too fast, because if you get above temperature, then there's kind of no saving it at that point. And don't be scared to make this. It's not hard. It's really not. And the fact that you can make fresh mozzarella in 30 minutes is amazing. Okay, so we're at about 75, so we'll be back in just a moment whenever I get to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so this is about just about 90 degrees, just a little bit under. Okay, so turn off your flame and you're going to move it off the heat. Okay, remember our 1/4 cup that we did of the rennet? We're going to pour this in. Now, you want to do the up and down motion and count to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Seven, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so now let me grab my napkin. You're going to take this out and make sure you have a digital timer. I'm going to set this timer. You can even use your phone if you want. Now the book says for 5 minutes. I always leave it for 10. I have found that I get a much better result with 10 minutes. So I've got my timer set, and then I'll put the lid on it. You're gonna leave this completely alone for the 10 minutes. Don't touch it, don't stir it, nothing. Leave it alone for 10 minutes and then we'll be back when my timer goes off. Okay, so the timer's going off. I'm going to go ahead and stop the timer and I'm going to reset it for 5 minutes so that it's ready. Now, if you'll come over here, and I really hope you guys can see this. But do you see how it's like a thick, separates from the thing, from the pot? So you're basically just going to cut slices in it. And this is why you need something that'll go all the way down to the bottom. I used to have a icing for cake spatula thing that I used to use this with, but I have no idea what happened to it. And you're going to go crossways, so you're basically cutting it in to squares. And I have found by doing the 10 minutes and not the 5, I get a better result as far as the curds that I get. Okay, so now, let's see if this will light. If I need to get my little clicker thing. Okay, so you're going to turn this down to low. Put your thermometer back in. And you're going to stir it very, very gently with the up and down motion. Do you see the curds? So very gently, and I'm going to do this till it reaches 105 degrees for probably about 5 minutes. So like I said, do it really, really slow because you don't want to really break apart the curds too bad. So once this reaches 105 degrees, I'm going to turn the flame off again and move it to the other side of the stove. And the reason you want to do that is because even though you turn the flame off, your burners are still hot and you're basically removing it from the heat. All right now we are at about 95. So we're almost there. You're just stirring real slow because you want it to heat evenly. And even though it only takes 30 minutes to make this, you don't want to rush it either. Okay, so we're at 105. I'm going to turn this off. We're going to switch over here. So it says to stir it for real slow for 2 to 5 minutes. This is where your timer comes in. The longer you do it, the firmer the cheese you'll have. So that's why I do 5 minutes. If I want a super soft mozzarella for like pizzas instead of say like grilled cheese or something, then I'll do like 2 to 3 minutes. But this one's actually going to be for sandwiches and stuff. So I'm going to do it for the full 5 minutes. So I'm going to start my timer and I'm going to stir this real slow for 5 minutes. And let me show you what it looks like. So that's what your curds and whey look like. So if you like curds and whey, this is a good place to eat it, right at this step. So I'm going to stir this for 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. So the 5 minutes of stirring is up. Now, thermometer out. So one other thing you're going to need is a slotted spoon. And what you want to do is you're going to pull your curds out of the whey. And the liquid that's in there, that's what it's called, is whey. So if you've ever seen like whey protein, it's basically dehydrated. And you want to strain off as much of the whey as possible. And you want to do this really gently. You don't want to be like super aggressive with it. Now when you're getting down to just the little pieces, one thing that I do is I will get a pitcher You don't have to do this. I do just because I want to make sure I get all of it. I need muscle. Can you pour that into here, please? You gotta pour it slow because you don't want the curds to just like plop. So I ended up getting even more out. And I'll set that back over there. Okay, this is where your dishwashing gloves are going to come in. And like I said, if you buy some to do this, make sure that you store them like with your cheese stuff so that they don't get used for like scrubbing nasty stuff and all that. They're only for cheese. Let's see if I can lift it. Pour some of the whey off. Okay. Now, you can use the same thermometer to do this. I actually prefer to switch to a digital one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. So I have a digital one that I use for this part. You can use the same thermometer. I just like the digital one. Now, according to this book, you can actually use powdered milk for this as well. I've never tried that. So you're going to drain off the whey. Okay, and you're going to go into the center of the curds and check your temperature. The temperature you're trying to get it up to is 145 degrees. So while that's counting, I'm going to go ahead and get my salt ready. It is a teaspoon of cheese salt. It's not quite a teaspoon, but that'll work. Okay, we are at exactly 100 degrees. Put my gloves back on. Like I said, you're trying to get 145 degrees, so you're going to kind of just see right now it's like cheese that just kind of falls apart, but you're going to squish it around. Try to push out the whey from it. Okay, now we're going to go back into the microwave for another 30 seconds. And then I think it actually also, I saw, says you may use skim milk, but the yield will be lower and the cheese will be drier. If you add lipase to this cheese, you may have to use a little bit more rennet. Lipase makes cheese softer, so try the recipe without it first and experiment later. So you can use skim milk as well as dry powdered milk. Like I said, I've never tried that. And the warmer it gets, you're going to see that it, and you're basically kneading it like dough, but you'll see that it starts to get like a smooth color or texture to it. So check our inner temperature. Like I said, we're trying to get to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now we're at 114 and still counting. So the reason I decided to make homemade mozzarella is because we're doing this pantry challenge where we can't, we have to try to cut down on our grocery bills and if possible not even go grocery shopping. We already buy a lot of milk as it is. And I have some stuff planned for this week that we need mozzarella and I didn't have any mozzarella. So I thought, well, I'll just make it. Alright, we're at 118. So now we're going to go 30 more seconds. Normally through a video I would pause on these sections, instead of having you wait, but because it's a consistent theme, and I want to show you each step, I'm actually just going to keep videoing through the 30-second heating process. Okay. Once again, pour off the whey. Kind of knead it. You're going to fold it like outsides to inside. Just like you're kneading dough. Okay, let's check our inner temperature. We're at 126 and still counting. Now it's slowing down and we are at 130. Okay, so we're about 130. So we're almost there. Remember, you want it to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Now when you get to 130, you don't want to do the 30, you really don't want to do the 30 second intervals. I usually do it for about 10 to 15. So this is 15 seconds. And we're going to knead it. Okay, let's see where we're at. And this is why I say the digital thermometer for this part is definitely a lot easier. You can use the dairy thermometer. Yeah, see, we're at 135 and still counting, and it's still counting pretty quick. It hasn't slowed down yet. 138. Now it's starting to slow. 139. 140, and we're going to 145. So let's do the last 15 seconds. Well, actually, it looks like 11 seconds. So we'll do the last 11 seconds. And that should take us to the 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. We're going to knead it. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So we'll just double check our temperature. And that's why these come in handy, because 145 hot cheese, yeah, you gotta have some pretty tough hands to do that. I've seen people do it. I can't. And I basically just try like form a ball and put the thermometer dead center. Okay, 145. Alright, so now you're going to sprinkle your teaspoon of salt over it, and you're going to knead it in. Let's just double check, see if we need to heat it again. Because if it's too cool, it doesn't stretch well. And even though I did the harder mozzarella instead of the soft, you know, because remember, if you just stir it for like 2 minutes, it's softer mozzarella. 5 minutes, it's a harder mozzarella. For like sandwiches and stuff, like say you want to make a grilled cheese sandwich, this still melts wonderfully, which is weird considering we're heating it to 145, and then you're like, well, how does it melt? It does. And this is even getting warm through these gloves. See, just that dropped us down to 130, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back in for about 15 seconds. And then we will start the stretching process. Don't throw this out. There's something you can still do with this. I almost went way over the 15. $125. $130. $135. $137. So we're going to go the last 15 seconds, and then we'll be ready to stretch it. Okay. Will you get me the parchment paper?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see, it's like a really smooth cheese. So basically you're just going to stretch, and it is hot. I can feel it even through these gloves. Stretch. Thank you. Stretch. And the more you stretch, you'll see it starts to look like, what was that candy called? Laffy Taffy. You know, and you can hold it different ways. Let it stretch. See how shiny that's getting? And once it becomes like a real shiny, almost kind of rubbery, not really. Set that in there. You're going to take your parchment paper. Okay. Form it. Will you grab me the kitchen scale? I'm just curious as to how much this thing weighs. Now this, you can actually roll it into little balls and put it in a bowl and then pour your whey over it. You can add an Italian seasoning to it, a garlic, then you have the little cheese balls in the seasoning, or you can do it this way and then you have a sliceable mozzarella. So, I just kind of go like this, pull the parchment paper up. Let me grab that real quick. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. So let's zero that out and put it into pounds. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is fold that over just for a sec. Zero out. So we got 1 pound, 2.8 ounces of fresh mozzarella out of a gallon of milk. So let's see if I can pull that apart. I've never done that. Yep, I can. So what I'm going to do now, who wants to be my taste tester? We'll cut off a little piece.
It's delicious like every single time.
That is good, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. Now I'm going to just roll this up and put it in the refrigerator. Let it cool. Once it cools, then I'll take it out of here and just put, cut it into, divide it up and put it in Ziploc baggies and put it in the refrigerator that way. Now, as far as the ricotta, or not ricotta, the whey goes, you actually can make ricotta out of the whey. So in this book I'll show you how to do that. I'm not going to get into that today. If you don't want to make ricotta, or you're not doing the little bitty cheese balls and pouring the whey back into it, this is great for your chickens, your pigs. Feed it to your livestock. It's good for your dogs. If you want to dehydrate it, turn it into a powder and add it to your protein shakes as a whey protein, you can definitely do that. So there's a lot of different options that you can do with that. And so, you just have to think what you would use it for. You can also, if you're not going to use it for anything, you can even pour it on your plants. It's great for that as well. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video on how to make 30-minute mozzarella. And I hope you all are enjoying the pantry challenge that everybody is doing. If you go to the hashtag pantry challenge, it'll show you all the different videos of everybody that is documenting how theirs is going and the different recipes and stuff that they're doing. And there's a lot of really cool stuff on there. So anyway, don't forget to hit us up on Instagram, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.